Interesting. Okay, so the simulation that we're using today was developed by Climate Interactive, MIT Sloan, and the Climate Change Initiative at University of Massachusetts Lowell. As Marieke said, it has a long history of efficacy. It's even used actually in COP negotiations at the United Nations Conference of Parties. They use some of this software for their sessions. And so we'll begin by just an introduction to the summit. And basically, we'll be talking as stakeholder groups. So just right now, I'd like to start us right off talking to each other. And I'd like you to talk about your connection to climate change. So, for instance, how has climate change affected you? Do you talk about it often? Are most of the people in your life knowledgeable about it? I mean, just pick one of these to answer. Are you or your friends active on climate? And what emotions do you have about it? Do you feel you understand the science? Do you think most people understand the physics of our planet? And has climate change affected your activities or your plans for the future? So I'm going to stop screen share for a minute, and we're going to, you can feel free to unmute and talk. We're such a small group. I think we can have a discussion. And also feel free to type in the chat. So those questions really are tell me about your connection to climate change.
See, Elizabeth responding, talk about with my friends and grandsons. And are there some specific themes in there, Elizabeth, you talk about?
Good question.
Like in Sydney, you have this forest fires threatening the city.
Indeed, yes.
Is this the part?
Hang on. I've got chat open and I can't close it. So, oh, there it is. Yeah. We're all still learning the technology. I guess during the fires, the concern was about how little we could actually do because we're well away from where the fires were. So it was much more a matter of being impacted and just being concerned, but but not able to do much physically.
Do you see a connection to the larger impact of climate on the planet?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's our politicians in power don't see it or deny it, but I think the population does. The general population does, yes.
I think the population gets climate change really well. I just don't think they want to change their behaviour. They want the government to somehow make it change without them making any sacrifices. And
do you think that's the case?
Very big problem
really? That's not my experience. I mean, of the people I interact with, I find that most of them are pretty scared, honestly, about climate change. And I know a lot of people who have made some big changes to small things in their lives and big things in their lives. But most of us are feeling pretty darn helpless when the powers that be have their head in the sand. I mean, doing great wonders with recycling is fine, but it's not the answer. And I think a lot of us are aware of that.
Yes, but I would say the use, for example, in Queensland, the usage of air conditioning is skyrocketing. Whereas
so
simple things like adopting the Japanese approach of setting your temperature higher during summer and lower during winter makes a dramatic difference. People are not prepared to do it.
Yeah, in my if I look at the Netherlands, I have two groups. I have this close group of friends, and half of them really don't care about the climate, even well, they know it's very important for me. And half of them really do care, and they do lots of smaller and bigger things. So it's a sort of split. People that don't want to see it, and people that really see it, that they might even try little things, but they at least are active.
Mhm.
I might add a couple of quick points. I think that I sort of see people in three categories. There's the climate change deniers who don't believe that there's any impact on the planet because in the scale of things it's not relevant. Then there are those who are in broad terms, I think they're the deniers, and then there are believers. And then the believers are broken up into two parts. There are those that actually believe it and are doing something about it and are committed. And then there are those who are fearful of the fact that if we did do something about it, it's going to impact your livelihood. And so they tend to, it's the fear of losing your livelihood. And so you tend to, back off and not want to do stuff. So I think those are the three groups. And then I think there's also the argument. Sorry, go on.
I want to focus on the personal right now because we're making a personal connection here with each other to begin with. And I know you might have been in sessions already with each other, but I want you to think about your personal connection to climate change. And sometimes it's okay for people to say, well, I don't really think about it that much. It doesn't really impact my daily life yet. I read a newspaper story about it and then I forget about it, or, it's what's your...
Yeah, I absolutely do. And I think I make it very obvious. I think the few presentations that I've done, I think systemically we are completely ignoring that aspect. We're all connected and we're connected with the planet. There was a time when the buffers of time and space that the planet had relative to the population and whatever we did didn't matter because it could absorb it. I think we have depleted those buffers of time and space. And if we keep doing this, it's the tragedy of the commons. There is no way that it can return to health unless we change what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely it. And I think we have to recognize that there are interrelationships, interconnections, and so that's yeah.
Yeah.
If
So
I
you're
can
gonna
also,
in the negotiations, you're a good negotiator. Yes, Amanda.
yes, yeah. If I can also just jump in, for me, moving to a city next to the sea has made me a lot more aware of what's going on. Like for us at the moment, the seals are dying in their hundreds at the moment because of overfishing, which is not directly involved with climate change, but it is a problem. And we also get, usually they say every 5 to 10 years, we'll get one Antarctic seal on the beach. But this year we've had about 10 to 15. So that just also shows that there is change as well. And also the Western Cape in South Africa is a winter rainfall region. And we didn't get much rain in winter. And there are parts of South Africa where it hasn't rained in 8 years. So actually about a week ago, it rained in some of those areas for the first time in 8 years, so that there are kids that's 8 years old that hasn't seen rain in their lives. So we do see a change. Also, there's no thunder usually in the Western Cape. There's no thunder or lightning. It's only like a soft drizzle. Somebody who recently moved to Cape Town said it's like raining like a shower, like just drizzling all the time. But now there's thunderstorms, which people don't know about. So, and also in the rest of South Africa is summer rainfall. We are almost at the end of November, and it hasn't really started raining. So we do see a big change in the rainfall. My husband is in agriculture, so they see it a lot. We have to import a lot from Russia at the moment, and South America, just wheat, because there's no rain, and people are starting to plant different crops as well now because of the change in rainfall.
So one thing I'm hearing is like an undercurrent of uneasiness, that sort of things are weird, things are different, and it's a sort of a underlying worry that's kind of always there.
Yes, yeah. So people are noticing that there's something going on, but they kind of have their head in the sand around what is going on. Because we are still using coal as an energy source, and the government is taxing you if you use renewable energy because they need the money from the coal energy. So yes, so people are starting to notice, but they haven't realized yet what's going on.
Well, I want to ask, what do Homo sapiens do when they feel uneasy and insecure and worried? What behavior happens after that, do you think?
They start blame shifting usually. I mean, that's what's happening with us now. So because now at the moment it's the refugees' fault that we are using too much energy. It's not our own fault.
So there's blame shifting, and how about also comfort seeking? You know, where Homo sapiens are kind of little animals that want to seek comfort when we feel insecure. So in a way that makes us burn even more fossil fuels to seek comfort and entertainment and be cool enough and warm enough, and we get worried and start amassing supplies. So we're making our own natural Homo sapien reaction to the situation is making it worse.
Yeah, that's true.
No, this Enroads simulator, I know the situation is quite depressing, but when I played the Enroads simulator, with this simulation, for me it became much clearer what needs to be done and what are possible solutions and what things I can support to make a contribution, and also to understand the newspaper much better. To understand now many countries want to promote nuclear energy. What does that really do? You are going to experience this in this simulator. You can try it out and see what happens. So I found that really informing and enjoyable, and I hope this will sort of power boost your influence and ideas on this as well. I see Nicole is also joining. Thank you for joining the session. We are just starting up, so you're right on time. We were discussing how climate change personally affects us and what does that tell about human behavior. Maybe you want to shortly introduce yourself?
Hello, sorry, I'm on a mobile phone and I'm like trying to be in the conference at the same time, but doing so many other things. My name is Nicole Jeffers-Tracy. Yes, I'm a researcher researching games, methods in virtual realities in simulations and games, serious games and gamification at Bond University. And I've been a part of a few projects that regarded of visualization and simulation of weather. Myself, by using, that was a few years ago, I was a part of a project that tried to model and simulate the spreading of the exhaust from thermal plants around the environment. And it was a very interesting project. And the only way that we could solve it was by using genetic programming and genetic algorithms and artificial intelligence.
Okay.
So
let me stop you there, because that sounds quite complex.
Yes.
I want to very shortly summarize. Do you know the Enroads simulator?
Excuse me, didn't catch that?
Do you know the Enroads simulator? Because the Enroads simulator is consisting of a model that is consisting of many different research inputs. For the past 40 years, they gathered all this research and put it into a model so we can simulate actual policy decisions. And this is what we are also going to do today together. And do you want to have a role in this?
Yes, I would like to be part of it.
Fantastic. I'll count you in. And if it's difficult with the connection, I'll vouch for you. I'll take your role temporarily, okay. and we'll work together on it. And now we didn't hear Mandy yet. Mandy, do you want to share something? I also saw you responding in the chat.
Yes, I did. I don't want to take more time. I do what I can with the global change, and it's just sad. And whatever you guys said, I concur to all. So I don't know what else I can add. It's just sad.
From what country are you?
I'm Australia.
Oh, also Australia. Aha. Good to know. Good to know. Thank you for sharing this. We will move on to the presentation so we can dive into the simulator as soon as we can. I'll give the floor to you back, Karen.
Okay, so so let's see. So this is the simulator. We're just doing a quick overview of how it works so that when you give, you will get a stakeholder a designation. You might be clean tech or conventional energy, a climate hawk, or a global government, world government. And you'll be negotiating from those points of view. But if you look, if you can see my cursor, can you see my cursor showing you the blue line here? So the black line is the black line is, thank you, is the business as usual. So if we stay on the business as usual line, in fact, what we are currently on, we would end up at 3 point, my thing is covering it, 3.6 C by 2100. So the goal of the negotiations today will be to bring the blue line down, which would be what you've negotiated as far as actions that human beings can take that will affect the temperature of the planet in 80 years. And that involves changing over here the mix of our energy sources. It might involve increasing our energy efficiency. I'll just go ahead and move them a lot so you can see the kinds of results you get when you give an input. And I think Marieke,
can I record the session for research purposes?
I think it is being recorded.
Okay, that's great.
It's being recorded.
Yeah. So So as you can see, there's actions that can be taken that lower the temperature of the planet, and this does 14,000 calculations per second. And behind each of these, you can also see some of the details, and you can negotiate on the details as well if you want to get that specific. For instance, when you want to reduce coal utilization, or do you want to accelerate your coal plants retirement, those kind of things. So
how about things such as reusing coal plants as energy storage, as thermal storage? Does it allow for that?
I don't think that's in there specifically, but what you would do is you would move the slider to see the effect of reducing coal use. And in other words, that's one specific idea within there, but the basic overall would be the reduction of coal use, retirements of coal plants, or choosing not to build new ones.
And also when you are going to implement it. If you take 10 years to do it, we can set a timeline, then you can see the results. What happens if you do it in 10 years, and what happens if you do it now? This makes a huge difference because systems can overshoot. So if you maybe delay your decision, the effect can be much worse than when you do it right away. That's just a tip. Are you going to return back to the introduction presentation, Karen?
Yes, I'm going to kind of speed through it a little bit because it seems like people are pretty ready to play.
Philip, you are just joining. Great, you're here. You're catching on the right time, and I will talk you through later on what you missed.
So you will be assigned stakeholders. You'll be in sectors from business, government, and civil society. And I am welcoming you to a climate action simulation. Your goal will be to negotiate a limit of global warming to less than 2C, but ideally 1.5 C above pre-industrial levels. And as you saw that simulation tool, that will help us to know how your negotiations are progressing. We'll use this Enroads to test the climate solutions that you come up with. And these are called sliders or levers that humans can apply to affect the temperature of the planet. We want to briefly review the science and what's at stake. So, and again, if you're very aware of this already, then know that the training for this presentation and the slides are available free online, and you can become a presenter yourself. So if you already know all of this, then just take this as training for you being a presenter. But if you don't know it already, then feel free to ask questions. You know, one of this, the important part of this graph is that all the things that you can remember, this 200,000, about when, you know, hominids were around here. So the whole time hominids have been on the planet, the parts per million in the atmosphere of carbon dioxide have been under 300. Under 300 parts per million. So if you look back in history and think of anything in history that you remember, anything, you know, Alexander the Great, or the pyramids, or you know, the French Revolution, anything you can come up with in history, you can know that it was under 300 parts per million. And starting in about, they kind of go with the industrial era, but this is about the last 170, 200 years here. And then we are now, so let's see, I'm 62 years old. So when I was born, it was already 310 right here. So it was already above where it had been. My great-grandfather was the last person, the last generation to experience an atmosphere that was the same as the whole time humans have been on the planet. So when I was born, it was 310. When my daughter was born, it was 350, which, so she's 32. So she was born 32 years ago, and it was 350, which scientists tell us is the highest safe limit of parts per million in the atmosphere. Then when my granddaughter was born, right around there, it was at 410, and now we're looking at 415, 417 today.
Sorry, what's the X, the bottom axis? Because it's got the words over it. Is that years or what is that? The scale
Years before 1950. Oh, you know, down here is what you can't read, or over here. Yeah, these are years before 1950 when it shot up. So the bottom axis, this is how many years, 200,000 years ago, right here. So that's why it goes back to 800,000 years, because ice core samples can give us data from that far back. But I'm pointing out the 200,000 because for me, a lot of people say, oh, you know, it's been hotter, it's been colder, etc. It's natural cycles, blah, blah, blah. But it's, the point is that humans developed under certain conditions on this planet, and humans have never experienced anything that like what we're seeing today.
Is there, it'd be good to see a population overlay of the human population numbers as well, I guess. Is that somewhere here too?
No, and also I'm having trouble because every time I hit this, it goes forward instead of back. Oh, there it goes. I see. Sorry, guys. I'm used to PowerPoint, and this is working differently. I didn't realize how different it was. All right, so the global temperature from pre-industrial, what we're doing is overlaying the yellow from this graph and spreading it out so that we're going from 1850, which is the Industrial Revolution, and we're adding the temperature anomaly. So you're seeing the rise in parts per million of carbon dioxide and the rise in temperature at the same time. And you can see that they follow the same slant. That's which is rising. All right. And then also we need to look at our fuel emissions by source. So since the Industrial Revolution in 1850, are you saying You can see the bottom of the slide, all right?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I have a cough today. I'm gonna eat some cough drops. So who can answer? What's the largest mix? The largest source of carbon dioxide emissions?
It looks like it's coal.
Yeah.
And coal and an oil still pretty big.
Yeah.
And
is that natural gas? Sorry, is that natural gas or?
Yes.
Okay.
And 40 gigatons a year. We're at 30 to 40 gigatons per year, being spewed out into the atmosphere. I'd like to know, has anybody else ever felt confused about why is carbon dioxide a problem at all? Since it's, a natural part. We live in a carbon-based universe, and
May I say something here?
Yes.
All right. So recently I had a chance to work with the thermal plants back in Europe. And I was working on a project that they were trying to implement a new technology, which is eliminating 98% of the emissions from it's Australian technology, and it's being patented and it's being worked on. And so I'm so proud of it. But the point here taken is that I came to a realization that they release 150,000 no, it is 15 million cubic meters of dangerous exhaust in the nature every hour. So there's 15 million cubic meters of gas, harmless gases in the nature, and it was mind blowing. And then I said, okay, that says a lot about the state of where we are right now. And I mean, that's nothing because they're using scrubbers, etc., etc. But imagine how it was in 1970s, 1960s, 1920s, when there was nothing, no filters and nothing. So how much how much toxic gas was just freely going into the atmosphere and people were breathing that thing. So yeah.
Right. I'm gonna zip past through some of these so that we can go ahead and get to. I did find a couple that pertain directly to Australia, so I'm gonna try to get to those. But this is also our total annual global greenhouse gas emissions by gas. So you can see the largest amount here, 68%, is from fossil fuels. What this graph shows, and again, this will be something that you'll see again and again in our simulator, but between 1.5 and 2.0, that's what the COP is negotiating right now. So right now in Glasgow, the world leaders are meeting and they're trying to negotiate to keep the temperature of the planet between these levels. And between this 1.5 and 2 is millions of lives and lots of suffering and lots of species loss. So that looks like a small amount right there, and it looks like we have a lot of wiggle room. I also want to ask you, so someone answer this. So if we want to keep it at 1 plus 1.5 above pre-industrial levels, but we are currently at 1.18. So how much wiggle room does that give us? So a lot of people, when they say keep it to 1.5, they think, oh, we have 1.5 of wiggle room, right? But they don't understand we are already at 1.18 above pre-industrial levels. So who can do the math? How much does that give us?
-3.
Oh, 0.3, wouldn't it be?
Yeah,
3/10?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have just 3/10 of a degree to work with here to keep it below 1.5. And going above 1.5 shows us many scientists have said that they've delineated what can happen after that. So a 3+C world, which is the track that we're currently on, is an ice-free Arctic 2 out of every 3 summers. And human civilization is not compatible with an ice-free Arctic. 50% of insect species losing species range, 11 months longer of drought, and many more wildfires. So these are examples. Shanghai today, Shanghai at 3.5C. This is New York City today, New York City at 3.5C. That's the current trajectory, which means in 80 years, that's what we would be at. And, you know, do any of you have a baby in your life? That person could be seeing this. There's Wall Street at 4C of warming. Here's London at 4C of warming. There's Shanghai. Here you go. Brisbane after, did I say that right? Brisbane or Brisbane? After sea level rise. Yeah, so the red is, and the red is 1 meter, and the tan is after the other 5 meters, which are expected at 3.5C of warming. And then I have one more from Australia. So here's Sydney after sea level rise. The red is the first meter of sea level rise. And then the tan is would be the other 5 meters. Okay. And there's also money involved. So you can use these in your negotiations, you know. You might have industry telling you, well, we don't want to hurt, you know, we don't want to hurt jobs. We don't want to, you know, we can't make this change too quickly. But remember that the world is already paying a cost, already paying a huge cost for not dealing with climate change. Damages associated with global warming could total over 54 trillion by the time we even reach 1.5C, which, as we said, remember, is like 3/10 away. So welcome to the United Nations Climate Action Summit. Our goal today is to limit that warming below 1.C if possible, but at least under 2. All right. The energy, there'll be a negotiator from conventional energy, from clean tech. That's a cool picture. I hadn't seen that one before. There'll be industry
from the sheets from the site, so we get regular updates by Enroads as trainers. So we have new sheets that are updated to the new research.
Yeah, they do. They continually improve it. And they take feedback from trainers too. So industry and commerce will be one. Land, agriculture and forestry will be one.
So there's also roles you are going to assign. So we're going to make a choice who's playing what.
Yes. And the climate justice hawks will be there, and the world governments will be there. And so now if we had bigger groups, we would assign you your roles. But since so Marieke, you do the part about assigning roles.
Yeah, fine, that's fine. Look, and in fact, it doesn't matter so much what role you are going to get, because you can decide how you will play this role. If you are going to be a conventional government, you play it differently when you want to be very liberal or very environmental oriented. So it doesn't matter what role you have. You can say, okay, I want to give this role more realism, but you can decide what you want to do with that role. You can decide what kind of policy you want to change. There are in total 18 levers. We go back to the Enroads simulator with all the levers and the graphs, and you can decide every round to change 2 levers. So you can make changes to 2 levers. The levers you feedback on what will happen if you change that and if you want to keep it. And we play an extra trick in the round after that, because then you can undo some policy change of another group or of another person. So If
So the first
Nicole
round we can,
says I'm going to boost conventional energy and Java won't have that, he can undo your decision.
right.
Did
So
you
the
are?
first round there's no undo.
What?
I
In the
didn't
first
hear
round,
you well.
there's no undo.
Is there undo?
We can undo
Yes.
decisions. Yes.
Yes,
we can
you have
undo
two
decisions.
actions you can take on your turn. You
Right.
can do two actions, two levers, or you can do one and undo someone else's.
Right.
But for the first round, it's better to just take two, so you have a clear picture of what's happening. And then in the next round, it's better to add more complexity, because that delivers you more and clearer information for how to play. Huh? You can choose your own way, but this would be my advice.
Okay.
Do we have any questions before now, after having this presentation? You're given role descriptions and more information, but you won't need much. You can just decide, okay, what kind of lever do I want to switch? We will show you the interface so you can see what levers are available. And then we have a plenary where we see, okay, what's going to be happening if you take this decision. Yeah?
Okay.
So we're all going to aim for this 1.5 degrees and maybe even less.
Yeah,
Do you want me
makes
to put the
sense.
stakeholders in the chat, the links?
Yeah,
Or
that's
how?
fine. Yeah.
Okay. So there's the short, medium, and long, depending on how people are accessing them. If you need me to paste it in the chat, I can do that for you. Otherwise, you can access this Google Doc, or the original long ones are on the. You go directly to the site and click on your stakeholder. How do we know?
First have to make up who's going to play what.
Yeah.
And are there people with preferences for what roles? Maybe can you put up that sheet, Karen, with the roles on a row?
I have a question. Does anybody know how to see all these sheets and levers and things if we're using the Hoover app on an iPad? Because I can't see any of this at the moment.
Okay.
You mean you? Did you see it when I was screen sharing before?
Yeah, when you're screen sharing for sure, but it sounds like you're putting things into the chat or links or something, and I can't see any of that. If I rotate my iPad, okay, maybe it's here.
I know a quick solution for that too. If you put your email address to us, we email the links to you.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, in the chat. I can see the chat now, there's nothing in there.
If you can, and otherwise tell me your email address.
Oh, that's probably the easiest.
I think it's in the Zoom chat.
Yeah,
it's not in the Hoover chat.
Yeah, I'm not doing this through Zoom. I'm doing it through Hoover.
Yeah, but
anyone else?
You should see a little chat icon at the bottom though. See, you can't see that in the Hoover app, in the Hoover window.
Okay, I can see one. If I rotate,
I've copied it across.
I can see a chat icon. Oh wait, I can see something in there now. Okay, I got it.
I copied it across.
Okay, thank you. So, okay.
Is that resolved for everyone then? Because I see a Me Too in here, but I'm not sure if that meant Me Too is resolved or Me Too has that problem.
All right. I'm kind of not sure what am I supposed to be doing right now.
Marieke, you're muted.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was muted. We are going to divide the roles first, and then you are going to go to your role description, which will help you a little bit more on what role do I have and what could I do with this.
Okay.
Can you pull up the sheet with the list of stakeholders, Karen? We have conventional energy. Does anyone want to play conventional energy? Huh? Then you are the gas and the coal industry. No,
I suspect no one's going to want that one.
Do you want to do it, Marcus?
I can play the bad guys.
Yeah. Sorry,
I'll do that.
the connect. Yeah. Oh, you're great. You're great. Thank you for doing that, Marcus. Who wants to play the climate hawks, the climate activists? Thiel, you are the climate activists. And Amanda, do you have any preference? Do you want to be the industry and commerce?
Yeah, let me be the industry and commerce. That's fine.
Great. And land and forestry and agriculture. Who wants to be a farmer? I also have world government, but you will have the same influence, so it doesn't really matter. And clean tech, clean technology.
I'll do clean tech if you can.
Okay. We expect a lot of you, Jawahar?
I go with the world governments.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Who wants to be agriculture? I think Elizabeth doesn't have a role yet. I will put Elizabeth on agriculture, yeah?
Or let me rather be agriculture and then make Elizabeth commerce. I think agriculture is going to be easier for me.
It's a good scam. Yeah, I will do that.
Thanks.
But you have the same influence, so you can decide what you want. Okay, now that's cool. Who cannot access the links we put in the chat? Raise your hand, please. Now we all can access it. Now you can go to the Google Docs and find your role. Would you let me know if you succeeded in doing that? Or if you not succeed? Oh, June, did you want to play with us or do you want to observe?
I'll observe.
Okay. You'll be the reporter on what's happening in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
And who is doing cheeky negotiations and stuff like that?
I got mine. The world government, WG.
Okay, you can start reading. Take your 5 to 10 minutes. You answer questions. And when you're reading, think of what would I want to change in the world and what policy would I need. So if I know everyone's got this role, then I can show the levers again. So you have an overview of what you can adapt. Oh, sorry, I think Mandy wasn't assigned yet. Mandy, are you still there? Maybe not.
Yes, I am. I've got access. I can see the scenarios, but I'm also be an observer. I'll be the good reporter.
Okay, maybe you can support one of the people. So if you're just an observer, it's sometimes more difficult to follow the simulation. So if you just connect to one of the role players, it might make it more easy for you to observe.
I've also went on the climate interactive, and it's went, if you want, you need to sort of register. Is that what we're meant to do? Register and Enroads events? Do we need to do that?
Oh, no, you don't have to do that. You can do that later on, of course. There's all kinds of trainings and updating workshops on that site. But we put it in the chat. You can see the role descriptions. This is really all you need.
Yeah, okay.
And you can choose what role you like the most and then follow that role most, because if you're new to the simulation, it can get quite complex. And if you make a choice for one, it's more easy to follow.
I follow. I understand.
Yeah, okay.
My question is, when this simulation was created, based on the fact,
You ask when the Enroad simulator was created?
I'm asking, it was the
It is continually updated.
And it was created in the 60s by the Club of Rome. They started it, and then MIT Sloan further developed it in the 70s, and more research institutes around the world joined in adding to this model. Even my faculty in Nijmegen has worked with John Sturman, among others, to build this model, and it's still being built on.
We need to give people some quiet so they can read their descriptions.
Yeah,
and be ready. So let's let me know if people have questions, or you can talk or contact me in the chat. Also remember, there's 3 different versions. If you really want to go deeper, there is a longer version. So you can see a long, did everyone get that? So long, medium, and short. So the short ones are the ones I posted in the chat. So it's really all you need there. Okay. So we've got 1 ready.
I'm ready.
I think we're good to go. Yeah.
2 ready. 3, 4. I see 4 ready. Okay, how about we take 1 more minute then, and then we'll be ready to go.
In the meantime, you can show the lever sheet. Shall I share the Enroad simulator, so it's more easy to think on the policy?
I was thinking, do people need a stretch break or anything?
Oh yeah.
Stretch your legs a minute.
Yeah, have a short coffee break for like 3 to 5 minutes, and you can already see the main screen shared from my computer on what the levers are, and think of what you want to change. Yeah?
Coffee sounds good.
Okay.
I'll have a coffee myself. Yeah.
So 2 minutes.
All right, let's get a coffee.
Let's do about 3 minutes. How about that?
Okay.
I'm going to set my timer.
That's what you want. Sorry, I'm not now. I'm in the middle of something. I've got a conference I'm doing. Okay. Okay, I'll call you tomorrow. Okay. Okay, I'm in the middle of something.
I'm back.
I'm back too.
I'm here.
Okay, I see most of you have returned. Maybe you already have some questions or ideas you want to share.
Probably a stupid question, but how do we interact with this simulator? Like, is one person going to do it, or we do it go around in turns or something?
It's the smartest question so far. So we didn't tell them. We are going to do that for you. Let
Right.
me see. There's just a link on the internet, and you can access the simulator at any time. And if I do this, you can see if we lower the tax of coal, what will happen? Coal is the purple area.
How do we do decisions over time? So if you want something to happen in 10 years' time rather than now.
Yeah, we can open this. And here you can see an extra window. So if I want to increase the subsidy or the tax, and I want to have it started later, then I can adjust it here. Yeah. But for this complex decision making, it's putting extra layers of complexity. It sometimes doesn't help to deal with the feedback you get. If you play it for a longer time, you can easily play it for 4 hours, but it's already evening and you're already having long conference days behind you. So we chose a short session, but if you play it longer, you can experiment with all kinds of things, yeah? And you can also always undo. So that is also nice. Return back to the normal position. Let me see, where is the...
I have another question.
Yeah. This is back to normal. This button. Yeah, you have another question. Let me hear it. Yeah.
Can we give this module or this simulator to the government for them to play and see what their decisions are doing? Is it possible?
Yeah, we try to apply this on a large scale, and there is people from government playing the simulator. But yeah, there's also a game in the game. If you're playing the knowledge you have as a world leader, yeah, how do I explain that quickly? There is going to be a game in the game. So you have the stakes of the world climate, but not all countries want to contribute evenly. They want to optimize their own options. There's also world climate game. And there you can see more on that, but that's a little bit more complex, and it also asks more preparation times of participants. So we didn't choose to play it now. But of course, in future, if you're interested, we can arrange a session. And if you gather a group of nice people, we will be happy to facilitate it.
But to answer your question, this tool is being used on government level, and it's even used during at COP negotiations in working sessions.
Fabulous. And I like the complex game. It's wonderful. Well done. It's just beautiful. Thank you.
So
when you can actually look at landmass usage, when it actually takes into account things like landmass usage, it does allow people to really visualize different methods.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also other simulators built like this, and it's a water game on the rise of the sea level. What was it called again, Karen? Do you remember the name? My professor talked to me about it. He explained there's another version, and then you can see what happens with the decisions, and you can see the world getting flooded slowly.
I think they're talking about the world climate simulation. This
Okay,
one's
I have a
called
question.
this one's the climate action. Yes, Teal?
What would happen, just to get an idea of the possibilities here, if all the sliders were maxed in the appropriate direction? What's the best outcome we could possibly achieve here?
Well, I think we're going to save that because I want you to discover some things for yourself first.
Okay.
And
Also,
afterwards, we share you the link, and you can experiment all you like. So
Sounds
you
good.
can make your own policy.
Sounds good. Yeah.
I'm guessing there's a dynamic balancing that happens where something has to give if something takes. So.
Yeah. But if you maximize it very shortly, we have a maximum positive effect, and it will be a large positive effect, because the sooner we act, the less trouble we prevent because of systems overshoot. So it's a very good idea to do that, and I wish we were doing that, but we're not. We think it's still cheaper to do it the other way, but it isn't.
And Teal, as you play with it yourself, you can always access it yourself on the Enroads site. And one interesting thing I did is I maxed out all the levers, and then I went in and experimented with when did you start doing that. So did you start this year, next year, 5 years, 10 years? And you can see the huge difference that way. Like, even if you max out all the levers, if you wait 10 years to start, you're not going to be successful. So
Yes, I'd like it to be very interesting to play with, and I might well have a look at that later on.
Yeah. So there does seem to be a window of opportunity.
It's interesting because one of the things it doesn't, right?
So should we get started then? And
are we at the point of no return?
Oh, are we? Did you say are we now?
Yeah, are we at the point of no return now?
I think anyone should say sure, but the best science, the IPCC report, etc., gives us a 3 to 5 year window. They say if we miss this current 3 to 5 year window, then yes, we will have triggered irreversible feedback loops.
Okay,
to be safe, if they say 3, you might want to make that 1.5.
So,
we can have further discussion. We can have further discussion later on. I think it's now time to start the simulator so we can maximize our learning from the simulation. And there will be plenty of options to discuss also after this session to go deeper into this, and we will be happy to assist in that. Yeah?
Yeah. Can we turn the captions off? Can we turn the captions off so that it doesn't go over the screen area there?
Yeah. Is this okay?
Is that
I
off
will
now?
make it smaller. Yeah. Now
I don't understand captions. You mean who's talking, or?
It's got captions.
JB, you do that in your own screen. It says live transcription. You click on that, and it says
there we go. Look at that.
Subtitle.
Ah, thank you.
That's all right.
Okay, are we all set? And otherwise we'll assume that, and you can ask questions later on. I want you all to think of 2 levers you want to change, and you if one has already changed that lever, you can choose another, so it can be an incremental strategy in this fashion. Clean tech, what do you want to do? Jawar.
So, all right, I'm trying to understand. So I can, when you say, and can you change it all the way a little bit? Like, what's the granularity? How?
You can change, like, I want more energy efficiency in transport, and I want electrification. And then you can see what's happening here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can move 2, and you can move them as far as you want, and you can say why from your stakeholder position. And then we also ask you to try to think about other things that are also improved by that action. So not just the slider, but perhaps a public health benefit or other co-benefits of the action.
So we've
Yeah.
picked two levers. So I'm going to stick with the electrification on transport and building and industry. So just those two.
Yeah.
Okay. And how
So
far
you
do you want them moved? Yeah.
Sort of halfway for both. We'll start, go middle ground and see what happens. Yep.
For
And
the
the one
first
I-
round, you can only move them halfway because you just cannot go that fast.
Right.
So you need some extra space. It has to be a little bit realistic.
Right. So, and can we do it for the same thing for the building and industry underneath electrification halfway?
Even kijken, building and industry, electrification, yeah. Now, let's see what happened. It did not yet. It did not yet. Oh, wacht. How do I stop it? It did not yet render a big result. Why do you think this happened? It's a bit
I'm still trying to
disappointing.
understand the model here.
Well, think of how much energy do we need to produce these solar panels, and how much energy do we need to produce all kinds of machines and technology that will help us get a long-term positive result.
Right.
So
Got
first
it.
we have to
Okay.
invest.
Well, so you've electrified everything, but you haven't changed where your electricity is coming from.
Right. Okay. That's the middle model that's building. Okay. Thank you. Do I get to change or I just
What
leave it
about
and-
energy?
I think that's a great move, JB.
Yeah.
Conventional energy thing, that's a good place to work.
Okay. Yeah, it's a long-term strategy. We have to start somewhere, but we need this power source to change. Maybe the conventional energy now wants to step in, Marcus.
Well, I know we're still producing as much carbon to produce the electricity, but we're more efficiently delivering it. What we should be doing is sinking that carbon into the ground, and therefore I'd like to invest heavily into the technological solutions to do that.
Yeah, okay.
So take that one up halfway would be absolutely great.
Yeah. Can you tell me again, what was it? I was making a note.
Carbon removal technological.
Yeah. Halfway up.
And
Okay,
I'm hovering my
that's
mouse
doing
over it and not
something.
realizing you can't see that. And the other thing is there's all these other gases coming from agriculture that we could quite easily remove, especially if we were to rethink more efficient farming, so vertical farming, a lot more focus on healthier farming. So we should put our money in there as well and reduce the methane and other gases being created.
Yeah. So we want to reduce halfway. Ah, that's helping a lot too. See what's happening? From 3.6, we got it back to, see, methane. That's 0.3, and it adds another 0.2 by technological carbon removal. So that's an adding step. Okay, well done. Let's hope the real conventional energy will do this. The industry and commerce. Elizabeth, are you ready?
I didn't do anything. I've been away.
Yeah. But it's a simple question. You can manage together with me. You've seen what's been happening. We already have changed 4 levers, and that resulted in a drop already. So we are starting to be successful. The lower line is dropping. What do you think? If you see all these levers, you can change. You can change too.
I'm stuck in a tech loop. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not seeing the effects of the first 2 levers that were tweaked in this particular model.
Do you see the blue line? The blue line is diverging from the black line, which is our current trajectory. So that the blue line coming down, that's the effects.
Yes, but electrification isn't showing up on the sliders. It was changed in the first.
In the previous
go.
the previous one.
Oh, did you undo them, Marieke?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know why that happened. Let me see. I always want to stop this one. How do I do this, Karen?
Just put them back to the middle. I think that should be fine.
Yeah, but the simulator is sort of keeping the loop. And we should have, no, I will change it just manually. Not in order, and I will sort of, the system doesn't do what I want to. Maybe I'm making a mistake. Yeah. Now it's correct again. Yeah. So
Okay.
we're already at 3.1. Maybe someone else wants to go first. Like Teal, you're the climate hawk. You can change 2 levers.
Okay. Well, as the situation is so very critical and we have no time to spare and we can't mess around with this, the climate hawks vote for dramatic changes on the coal and the oil, reducing those as far as possible straight away.
Yeah. Very highly taxed. They are both now. Okay.
So that's taxing production. Is not actually enforcing reduced production in this model.
Higher taxes will make other energy sources more economically competitive.
Yeah, it's putting a price on carbon, and stopping new development is also under those sliders when you open up the details. So it kind of encompasses all of that, all of the levers, all of the ways that we reduce that segment of our energy supply.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. So this already caused another dramatic change. You lowered the line by 0.2 again. So this is a very good option. So thank you, Climate Hawks. Land and Forestry, Amanda.
I'm back, Marieke, if you want to.
Okay. You want to go first? Yeah.
I'd like to increase the energy renewables.
Energy renewables.
As much as is possible.
Yeah.
And decrease deforestation.
Okay.
Or increase afforestation, whichever. But no, decrease deforestation would be good.
So that also added. Let's see what happened here.
She chose the one above it. She wants to stop deforestation.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, deforestation. Yeah. See what happened? 1 point. It's still a long way to go, but these were useful initiatives. Why do you think, to the group, why do you think it's going a bit slow with all of these halfway maximum measures you already take?
Because we haven't changed the source of the energy and the major pollutants.
Okay, let's see what we can do about that. You're on, Nicola.
Yeah, I would like to increase nuclear, and I would like to introduce carbon tax.
Okay, nuclear. See what's happening. I'm maximizing it.
Okay.
Okay, nothing's happening. Yeah,
right.
A little bit on the last point. What's happening here? Why do you think, as a group, this is happening?
It's because we can't build nuclear quick enough.
Okay, I can't see who's talking sometimes because I have to make my my screen.
That was conventional energy that said we can't build nuclear quick enough. You want to get with Bill Gates and just put it everywhere,
but
right?
That's not the reason. That's not the reason. That's not what the model says. There's another explanation, and it's
because building the plants is expensive climate-wise.
It is expensive, you say?
In climate terms, the emissions created by building the plants is adding to that effect.
But also it doesn't take away energy. It doesn't reduce our energy usage. So if you offer more cheap energy, we will only start using more. So it adds to the emissions instead of that it changes it.
My reasoning here would be I would replace the coal plants with nuclear plants instead of building more nuclear plants. That was my reasoning behind this.
Okay,
so instead of building more, I would replace the coal plants completely and replace them with nuclear, something similar like Germany was doing. But
we
no,
take
I don't
this.
want to tax them. I don't want to tax them. I want to replace them.
You
Is
want to
there
replace
the
them?
option of yes? Because I can replace coal with nuclear. I can replace coal with energy, with solar, with something else.
No, it is the system represents these buttons because they're on a meta level. There's many decisions behind it. So the system is based on if the price is higher or more taxed, it will lower the effect in the system. You see that?
Yes.
So if you want to take it out, I can take this natural gas lever. I can take this coal lever. I can take the oil lever. What do you want?
I don't want to tax them. I want to remove them. So that's not the solution that I'm after. So because as a world government, I want to like have a consistent energy trend. So I don't want to have any interruptions and everything.
But like
so I would
majority
introduce carbon price. What about carbon price? I want to introduce carbon price to the high carbon emissions.
Because we cannot immediately remove all coal because there's part of the world that are really dependent on coal and they would starve.
Yeah.
So,
that's what I'm saying, but I can simultaneously, not simultaneously, as I'm removing coal, I introduce nuclear, but that's not possible, obviously, with the simulator. So I would introduce carbon price.
But that is also realistic to the world policy. So there's a reason why it's shaped like this.
Yeah, so, like some countries don't like to have nuclear power plants in the vicinity. I understand that. I don't understand why, but I understand they want to do that. All right, so there you go. We'll lower it. That works.
We're going there, huh? So this higher making of the carbon price is a huge lever. Do you see what's happening in both graphs?
Yeah, because you are taking money from the rich people pockets, and they don't like that. So they will have to find some other ways of doing
things. They have
to
invest in the green energy, in the renewables. Do you see? Because this is really making a lot of difference. So this was a very good choice. You see how much is invested in new energy?
I'd like to make a point that our current system allows the fossil fuel industry to externalize its profit off onto the environment and the citizens and does not have to pay for that. So putting a price on carbon brings those externalizations back into the equation.
So you are taxed, you are penaltied for using the wrong kind of energy. And that is what really works, because then they start thinking, oh, this reduces my profit.
And I'm a world government. I'm all about taxes, and world government is all about taxes. So I want more taxes, people. I'm a government.
Marieke, we need to hear from the other stakeholders. So far, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've only heard from 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We still need land and forestry. Amanda.
Yeah, agriculture. Yes.
Agriculture. Yes.
Agriculture. All right. So I've been looking at what we've been doing, and for me, if we decrease the deforestation areas, I'm not going to have space to plant all my crops.
Very good thinking.
So I would like to increase, against my personal principles, I would like to increase the deforestation so that I can have more space for my crops, please.
So you
so I'm
okay. Let's see what happened here. Why did it do nothing to the emission? Why would this be? That's strange, huh? But does anyone have an idea why didn't changing this do nothing on this scale?
Because it all seems to. Sorry, go on.
No, just go ahead.
The effects that we've seen that have been strongest so far seem to be about power generation, don't they, and affecting which power is being used, which power sources are being used. It doesn't directly touch on that at all. I mean, reducing deforestation is obviously a good thing, but that's not actually, none of the various things that have really produced a stronger effect seem to be contingent on that.
Yeah, so we have an effect, but it's not measured on this scale, and it's not contributing as much because of industry and our normal consumption, bringing much more pollution than deforestation would. Yeah. But for moral reasons, you could make that choice. But what will be your other choice, Amanda?
And then my other choice would be I would like to increase bioenergy.
Bioenergy.
Yes.
That's contributing again. 2.3. So, and what was the rationale by increasing bioenergy? Why do you think it worked?
Because in agriculture, items are produced that can be used in bioenergy. So I'm creating a market for my products.
And it's also circular, huh? So you can use your own waste products and keep it more on the spot where it is. Local circular movement. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. Did I already change your levers? Not yet. I did. I think.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'd change them now, given what you've said. But yes, you did change them.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. That's great. So I did all the 6 roles you have. Now we can deliberate together because we did a lot, huh? We already did a lot. As you see how many levers we changed, we worked well together. But we still need to go to that 1.5. Think of what could you do?
I have reached 1.7 on the model. I can, by not changing too much policies, but improving. I can possibly share my screen. Can I do that?
Let's stay with this simulator because there are some powerful levers that no one has touched yet. And
Exactly.
let's keep working with this one, please.
So
can we go on energy efficiency?
Energy efficiency.
Yeah. Can we go around again, Marieke?
Yeah. Let me see. Also, what role are you?
Also, for you can discuss. You can also discuss with another. You can talk to another person. And make an appeal to see if you can change their mind or get them to go along with you.
Of course, you have this more than we have teams.
Yeah.
I like the continue their work, so I don't want to highly tax them as much as possible. I like to go moderate in some areas, and some you have to go high, but the level of the tax is less than what you guys have said. So I like to negotiate that. I do like to go with renewables to improve that. I don't like much nuclear, so I feel like it can cause pollution. So I went nothing on nuclear. I want to increase the energy efficiency, if that's possible.
Yeah, but you can choose 2 levers. And if you want other levels to change, you have to convince someone in the group who wants to do that.
Okay, I feel like I'm not very keen on nuclear. So, and I've actually I've got a theoretically played game that says you can go without nuclear. Okay. Is anybody with me on this?
So raise your hand if you are.
Reduce it.
Well, on your turn, you have the choice to undo someone else's. So you could move that slider as one of your choices on your turn.
I only get one choice.
one undo and one do you
Yeah,
can have. So you can
have two
undo
choices.
one
Okay.
policy.
Or two do's. You can choose to do two things or one undo and one do.
So you want
Okay, I'll
to
do
get
two
rid of
things.
this,
I
huh?
no. Leave that in. I wouldn't change that. If I'm gonna do two things, I would increase both energy efficiencies. That's what I would do.
Yeah, okay. Let's see what's happening there.
And also,
Ah.
as you come to make your proposal, please state what stakeholder group you're representing. So was that like land?
No, I am the voice of the people.
Yeah. She didn't was not assigned to a group, but I'm fine with doing this. She's the voice of the people, and she wants to do this. They have a lot of influence in the field. So, but see what it did. It really got the effect is huge. Do you see that?
Yep.
Huh? Why is this effect so huge? Why do you think that?
Because when we have efficient fuel, the one that we use, we don't waste it. For example, if we have efficient fuel, as in energy efficiency in the house, how we build them, then when we warm the house, it doesn't go to waste. It kind of stays in. But if we are not energy efficient, we use the energy, but we don't achieve the outcome. So it's important to be efficient in what we do. It's like working. You work 10 hours,
also,
but if you work 2 hours.
Yeah. And also, if I know my country, and Karen was talking on that, we have many of these old houses that are insulated very poorly. If we just keep losing energy that's wasted, it's very bad. So like over 70% of the houses on the world do not meet good insulation criteria. And probably the number is much higher.
Yeah.
And if you look at the chart on the left, your sources of primary energy there, you can see that the overall energy usage has gone down. So with higher efficiency, we need less energy.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going.
All right, guys. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. I will have to leave you. So thanks for this. It was very educational, but unfortunately I have to go. Yeah. Thanks everyone.
Thanks for your
questions. Tomorrow.
Good night.
Bye.
So we do one more round just from the top, or what do we do?
Thank you.
Yes, we need to do a quick round where you just very quick. You're just going to state your stakeholder group and what actions you're taking. Okay, and we're going to move
clean tech again, starting from the top.
I'll go as conventional energy. I want my technological carbon removal up to max, please.
Carbon removal up to max. Let me see. Yep. Aha, we're getting there. Good choice, Marcus. And your second lever.
Well, we can't have that carbon price if we're removing the carbon. So can you take that back down to no carbon tax? We've already got tax on coal and oil.
Okay. Carbon price. So you want to change this one?
Yep.
Oh, it's undoes your good strategy. It undoes your good strategy. What will we do about this?
Oh, we've got to increase the efficiencies and look at some of the others.
That'll be the next one, yes.
The methane, we've got to address that one. We'll fix it all there.
Right. So clean tech. Let's
clean tech.
Yeah, clean tech. You want to increase the new zero carbon? Could you increase that, please?
Yeah.
That one, yeah, take it up.
See what's happening.
And reduce population.
We cannot reduce population.
Oh, why not?
Oh, yeah.
Population growth, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why would we want to do that? We don't want to be China.
No, it's about I want to see what happens.
The population really doesn't do much, huh?
Population doesn't do much at all.
This really doesn't do much. And why would this be?
Because it will take 100 years to take effect.
Well, that's interesting.
Because we've got aging, older age. As
Yeah,
in aging
but,
population, so
one person in a Western country already uses so much energy.
yeah.
So we are still increasing using energy per person. It has a sort of exponential graph of how much energy we have been using per person.
Yeah. No, that's good. That was to test the conspiracy theory. That's okay. I've got that now, so it doesn't make a big difference. Yes.
Okay, Jill, the climate talks. What do you suggest?
Well, I was going to suggest reducing population, but we've already seen that's not really a viable option here. So, let's see. Let's see what tweaking economic growth does.
Which way?
Well, downwards, obviously. I'm a climate hawk. Why would I only have to do another thing?
At 2 points. Great thing.
Okay.
No, don't you want to reduce economic growth? You have to leave that. We have to grow. Come on.
If there's no people alive to go, it really isn't going to help much, is it now?
We want growth. We want growth.
Always wanting to have growth is old status quo. It's really not necessary to be a sustainable company to always grow.
Yeah, it's all about sustainability.
And it's low growth, it's not low growth.
Okay, Teal, what's your next?
I left economic growth the same, and I still got 1.7, and I didn't tax much.
Okay, but Teal, what will be your next decision?
Okay, history has shown us that having a carbon price does help. We have seen this in the Australian political system. Let's put it into the world. Let's bring that carbon price back.
Yeah, we're nearly there. Way to go. Very good. This was your turn, Teal. Okay, Elizabeth, what are you going to do?
Not a lot left that I can see to do. Maybe increase the bioenergy a bit, what's left of it.
Let me see, the bioenergy. Sorry, sometimes I get a little bit. Let's see what's happening.
Also remember that when we first moved the electrification lever, we still had a mix that was mainly from coal. But now we've changed our mix of sources, so electrification may have a better outcome if you increased it.
Okay. How about transport, increased energy efficiency? Or increased electrification? Increased energy efficiency?
Okay, it didn't do much.
And the electrification, what does that do?
What did you want to know?
Increase electrification of transport, what does that do?
Okay, let's see if that further helps us. No, it doesn't help us enough. Okay.
Transport, very hard to make more efficient.
Yeah.
Buildings and industry, however.
And the industry still delivers so much CO2 in the air that it's relatively non-effective measure, relatively. But for cities, it can be a huge measure because of the cities will be more livable. So Amanda, what will be your choices?
I'm trying to think if economic growth, if we increase that, if it's really going to make a difference.
Let's see what's happening.
I don't think so.
The wrong way,
Yeah.
Do you have another idea what to do? We still have,
I'm trying to think.
Natural gas. We didn't
natural
use.
gas. We can
Efficiency.
I thought of the energy efficiency on transport because my area uses transport a lot, but it's not really doing anything. Let's look at the energy efficiency of buildings. Yes.
It's a sort of a tipping point. If it's here, it's sort of. If I add my floor insulation, it doesn't really add much. Just such a low amount that it's not worth investing in. And that's what's happening here. So here we got the main job done. You already did choose two, huh? Yeah. Let me see. Who hasn't been taken in turn yet this round? I think everyone has. Okay, let's reflect on this. What we made it to 1.6 without discussions, without real rows, without our freedom to make this policy. And we made a very good result. It's 1.6, but it's still not on the target aim we wanted to. And also, we cannot predict if this is sufficient, if this policy will be executed as intended. So let's reflect on this. This is how far we got when we used all of these levers and all of these measures.
Wow.
Does the order that the levers are pulled make any difference? Like, I mean, afforestation and deforestation made no difference earlier, but we've tweaked a few things since then. Would that change if we move those levers now?
You can still see, I can show you that. Even kijken, deforestation. Hey,
there we go.
Add value. And here it's going to add value. See, so that was very good thinking to try this.
And you're right that the order that you do things makes a difference with the simulation.
That is true. That's very good.
You made it below 1.5? Look at that.
Yes.
Go you.
Now, where's the model's costing?
What?
Because that's the other part.
What does a life cost? What does 7 billion lives cost?
No. It actually is quite important to actually be able to do things. So we need to understand that. To understand, does this mean we all pay 30% more tax? Or and maybe we should. I think coal killing 800,000 people a year is terrible.
And also, what would be the cost of rising sea levels? And what would be the cost of war starting around the world because of this drought and because of less resources? And also, if like Iraq is totally dependent on oil right now for its income, if that's taken away, that's going to be a country in war, and people are going to die of hunger and war there. And that's also going to have an impact on the rest of the world, because Iran will oppose and they will send us nuclear missiles. Look at what could be happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the cost of that. Yeah, so I agree with you, Mark.
Also, you will hear you'll hear from the fossil fuel industry. I've seen several advertisements already about how we can't deprive the developing nations of fossil fuel infrastructure and developing, and our fossil fuel support for their development. But what they are really asking for in developing nations is to leapfrog the fossil fuel pathway, so they don't have to go the route we went. They can go directly to cleaner, renewable, and they don't have to invest and go into debt for that huge fossil fuel infrastructure to be added when they don't already have it. So they're actually better off if they leapfrog that.
Yeah.
And so don't let that argument fool you, because it's, if any of you are following the COP, it's been very interesting to hear the arguments. We're coming down now to the end. Okay, yes, sorry, what?
Thank you so much for this presentation. It's been very, very eye-opening. Thank you so much for developing this game. It's amazing.
Thank you. Well, Marieke, is it okay to go into the debrief now, to the final
let's
part?
do that. We have some debriefing sheets, and also you already learned a lot and you've taken so much in already. But it's good to see how it can be normally debriefed to get the message across, because not every group is as good as you. So big applause for yourself. Yes. You did really well. And you also had to deal with less complexity because you were not in teams, huh? Otherwise, you get more teams, and sometimes also more opposing people. You already are attracted to the subject of sustainability, and then you get this outcome. But if you do this with people, and Karen has a lot of experience with that, and I at the university with students that really oppose sustainable strategies, then you get quite some challenges in this simulation, and it also gets very engaging that way. But also because it's the real deal here, it's also a tough impact to take also sometimes for people. So do you want to do the debrief, Karen, or do you want me to do it?
Yes, I'd like to start. So first, keep this up for one more minute. I want you to look at the scenario that you all created together. You brought it down below 1.5. Remember the slides that we showed you in the beginning? And so you can say to yourself, with these choices that we've made, that we've done together, we have saved all of those cities, those flooded cities that I showed you in the beginning. And you've saved countless wildfires from happening. You've saved millions of people from having to leave their homes and migrate. So also, if you know someone who's under 10 years old, they will actually live into this this world that you've created here. So I'd like you to, we're going to take 1 minute of silence. And for that, Marieke, if you could stop screen sharing, and we're just gonna see our faces again. And for 1 minute of silence, I'm gonna have you just contemplate this world that is below 1.5 C above pre-industrial levels, a world in which we have succeeded in bringing down the temperature of the planet. So, and I'd like you to think about, what would you love about being part of this world? What would you love about being part of this scenario? This world that you've created, all right? So I'm going to do 1 minute right now of silence. And then I'm going to type in the chat when the silence is over. And you can all, I want you to start typing in the chat what comes to you when the 1 minute is over. So you can start typing in the chat as soon as I do, okay? So now. And please type in the chat what you would love about being part of this world and how it makes you feel. Oh, excuse me. Okay. All right. And if anyone would like to speak, you can tell me how this simulation was for you. Was it hard to play your role? How did you feel playing your role? Or did you get a chance to kind of see it through different eyes a little bit?
I wound up playing a role that was pretty close to my heart, which I'm sure you've probably all figured by now. So I actually didn't find that difficult at all. But I just loved seeing how all the various choices interacted. I thought that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything that surprised you? Anyone?
Quite a few things that didn't have an effect.
Sorry, who talked? Was that?
I was saying something, but someone else was speaking as well, so not sure who they were.
Mandy, was that you? I can't find who was. I didn't see who was talking.
I thought, yeah, it was me. I wanted to say that, as Teal mentioned, we both said at the same time that some levers, some actions would not have the right effect if we even tried, and that was interesting to see. And it's kind of more playful because if you go back and play it a bit more, you can find that there are other actions that you can take without compromising and creating war that will compromise other people's interests. So it's kind of amazing how it interacts. I hope it's clear. That's how I found it.
All right. So anyone else, anything that surprised you during the simulation? Or anything about playing your role that you want to share?
I also wanted to say that sometimes you think that any change or any idea is a good idea with regard to climate change, but as the previous two speakers said, that it doesn't really make a difference sometimes. So you need to be strategic in your decisions.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it brings in the complexity of the level of abstraction. This is treating the world in some ways as equal, and the world is not equal. And different regions, solutions should be different. It does emphasize that it's difficult, but I don't think, for example, that expecting Iraq to go without oil is a good solution in a short term. At the same time, I'd like to see all oil and coal removed. So we have to actually think more globally, but also think about how we can achieve climate change that doesn't lead to wars, that doesn't lead, especially to mass migration, which is probably even worse than wars, on economic security, on agriculture. Those type of things are really important. So I do think it's a great start, but people need to be able to take that next step and say, why should Africa be treated differently to Europe or America? And I think it should. And we need to really be very, very clear that solutions, for example, if we want to throw solar in the UK, we're wasting our money, or it's just useless there. And people have put in lots of money into solar, and it's a poor investment because the energy required to manufacture the industry is greater than the energy it's going to actually provide over its life. Whereas in a place like Australia, we do pretty well for sunlight. And therefore, we're going to have to think very clearly about how we do things and the cost around those. So insulation, Canada's minimum standard for insulation for a house is Australia's maximum, which I find absolutely crazy. You can't get a house built that's energy efficient in this country.
Kind of like that in the US too. Our gold lead standards are like 1970s level of insulation.
I had
that's
sorry, go on.
go ahead to Wahar.
Yeah, I had two thoughts or observations really. One, the obvious one is on the recognition of the interdependence of things. You know, there's no one thing that sort of changes things completely. They're all interdependent, and some of them have more leverage than others. And the second one was to bring in the I guess the metaphor of the iceberg model, which I sort of really use a lot in a lot of the stuff I put up. And one of the, from the iceberg model, the thing here that's foundational to this is a lot of these things are sort of at the surface or just below the surface, right? The real change, though, has to come down at the grassroots level, you know, at the human level, and the mental models that are driving the behaviors that we're seeing. So while we might change levers, in a sense, it's sort of superficial. You have to actually go down and understand what's driving the behaviors and how do we get people to take on board changes that they might not like to take on because that's not what they believe, or it is. So how do we get the social change and the human change happening that will drive the change, the overarching change that's needed to make this happen?
That kind of ties in with what we were talking about, what happens when people are feeling stressed. They do comfort seeking, they end up burning more fossil fuels in order to satisfy themselves and make themselves secure. But I just attended a session virtually at the COP that where it was presented that there's lots of research now, and they listed several books that have been published and papers looking into if everyone had not even a minimal living standard, but a very comfortable living standard around the world, but more simple living, I guess, the basics, making sure everyone had the basics of food, shelter, cool, and heat, that it was possible with like a third of the energy that we have today, you know, to have everybody in the world taken care of. Is just how it's done.
Yeah.
That
in
matters. How
a
it's
country like the Netherlands, in a country like the Netherlands, we have a lot of circular building now. We are investing in tiny houses, like you're making your own tiny house, Karen. But we have a lot of people wanting to live in these really nice tiny houses in nature. And we have a lot of national programs for installations. We get a lot of subsidies there. That's also triggering our economic growth. But we have many, like 80% of Dutch people have made efforts to insulate their house. 80%. So it can be done, huh?
I've seen a lot of stuff on social media and various other places suggesting that it's not about the vast number of individuals in the population making little lifestyle changes, but what really needs to happen is at the high end where you've got the people making decisions regarding industry and things of that sort. They're the ones that are producing the largest amount of contributions.
Sorry for interrupting you, but if people in the UK wouldn't boil excess water in the water boilers, they would need one less nuclear plant. If they would just boil the water they need and not put the kettle full and boil it. One nuclear plant per year is just doing that heating for the water boilers. So it is about also, maybe it's not a huge impact on the great scale, but it is impacting the heat in your country if you boil less water.
I have to say, I think I agree that world governments so far have wanted to please industry more than people, and they've found that that's a better way to stay in power. Because if they do things that make people perceive to be uncomfortable, then they get voted out right away. That's how our governmental systems are working, and that's part of the problem that we're facing, is that how do we, have the leadership that calls for what's necessary as far as the physics of the planet, and doesn't get booted out right away,
Yeah.
On that, industry is financially driven by what people want. And if we, for example, textiles, it's a huge contributor to carbon emissions. I had a very good article suggesting that if women didn't buy new clothes for 1 year, and just exchange clothes with their friends that they gave the amount that we would save. And I passed this around, and not a single one of my female friends was interested. This concept of the right to buy clothing every year and keep up with fashion is very important. And that's not industry led, that's socially led. That's about people thinking.
It's also about leadership, though. For instance, we often use an analogy of the home front in World War II in the United States, when leadership made people accept a 90% tax rate for the wealthy, and rationing and all kinds of deprivations and changes in jobs. And government told car manufacturers, you're not going to build cars, you're going to build airplanes now. So, and people accepted those changes because they were called, their heroism was called out of them for a greater purpose. And we haven't seen that yet on a national or global scale, a leader that called people to their highest self and to be part of a heroic effort to turn this around for our planet.
I think
we don't have many of those in Australia at present, unfortunately, Karen.
But I think
well, I have to go to I'm going to screen share the tail end of this now. So we had the debriefing discussion, and now I'd like to, we talked about some of your key insights and what surprised you. And what will you take away from today? I want you to just think to yourself, how can you apply what you learned to the real world? For instance, could you make a commitment to talk about climate with more people more often? Just ask them, what do you think about climate change? And listen. So looking ahead, did anything we do today, was it impossible for human beings to do? Are we talking about anything that's imaginary or pie in the sky? A little bit with the carbon removal tech, because that's not developed at scale at all. But the rest of it was all things that people can do, humans can do. So we're not talking about imaginary solutions here. So these are things that are happening. The companies are starting to take action. So for instance, we've got, doubling efficiency, and we've got companies that are using 100% renewable. In fact, the what is it called? The coal museum in the United States now is completely covered with solar panels on the roof. Yeah, Microsoft. Yeah. So let's go ahead. Carbon prices are now being enacted around the world. All right. So 80% of jurisdictions. Let's see. Remember that we do have some leaders from the past, and perhaps more can arise that will call people to their heroic selves. We are seeing global climate strikes, 7 million people as of that year. What can you do? So here's the person, and again, we're talking private, then your social network, your organizational network. What can you do to call out your organization and ask, how are you participating or not participating in the solutions for the climate? There's possibilities of running for public office and helping to create new laws. Especially, I'd encourage you to look into CELDF, the idea of the rights of nature and citizens' rights and the rights of nature. The rights of citizens to protect their local environments. That's one way that people are finally being able to win in court over corporations. And
sorry for the addition. I also see more and more social networks, like existing of companies, existing of student organizations, existing of all kinds of environmental organizations joining forces and trying to influence policy and law locally, but also nationally. And I subscribe to some of these networks, and I sign their statements, and I am invited to demonstrations or to meetings. So that's really coming into a very good development, that we can join forces in these network organizations.
Yes, and you can look at how wherever you are, you can influence something bigger around you. For instance, a student can work on their university divesting from fossil fuel investments. You can cut up your credit card and show Wells Fargo that you don't like the fact that they've invested in fossil fuels. This is something that they they suggested as your treaty signing at the end. So this is something you can just be proud of here. And thank you. This comes from climateinteractive.org. You can always go there, and there's free training either live with the best trainer ever, which is Drew, or you can also do the videos. It's about 12 hours worth of training, and then you're ready to go ahead and start. And it's good to sort of, I'm happy to partner with you if you'd like someone to help you get going. So thank you very much, and let me stop the share.
Yeah, and in case you don't want to do the training